Donald Trump's decision to pull U.S. troops out of northeastern Syria was interpreted like a green light to Turkey's offensive. Once Turkey launched its strikes, President Trump defended his decision to leave the Kurds, even though they were America's allies in the war on the Islamic State group.
They didn't help us in the Second World War. They didn't help us with Normandy, as an example. But they're there to help us with their land.
Trump did, however, call on President Recep Tayyip Erdogan not to be too brutal with the Kurds.
I will wipe out his economy if that happens.
Europe has urged President Erdogan to stop his strikes and called for an emergency discussion at the UN Security Council.
This military action is not leading to good results.
Syria and its allies, Russia and Iran, say the Turkish strikes are an aggression on Syria's sovereignty. They say that to solve all problems at once, the Kurds should return the territories they control to Syria's central authorities, so Syrian forces can defend them.
The Americans organize quasi-state structures there. It's now a very dangerous game.
The Syrian regime says it's ready to defend and welcome back the Kurds, who it calls its stray sons, if they return to their senses.
Well, Turkish president gave a speech at lunchtime today in which he said as many as 109 terrorists had already been killed. But from Syria, we're not hearing anywhere near that number. Syrian activists have told the press that 7 of their civilians have been killed and 8 of their fighters have been killed. Another thing that Turkey is saying is that it said it has cleared 6 villages in northeastern Syria of terrorists. However, Turkey is also taking casualties itself. By lunchtime today, reports were that more than 150 mortar bombs and rockets had landed in southern Turkish towns, fired across the border from Syria. And these attacks have killed 6 people and wounded about 20. Also, it seems as if the Turkish government is not tolerating any criticism of this operation. The one party in parliament that voted against the incursion when parliament was voting on an authorization motion, the pro-Kurdish HDP party, its 2 leaders are now under investigation for terrorist propaganda. They're being investigated by prosecutors here in Ankara. And more than 100 people have been detained across the country for alleged terror propaganda on social media. So the government isn't tolerating any criticism of this campaign.
And just briefly, Jasper, how seriously should the European Union take that threat, that warning we heard from Erdogan about opening the gates?
They should take him very seriously. Already this year, the number of refugees crossing the Aegean to the Greek islands has increased substantially, and that suggests a relaxation of Turkish policing of its western coast. I think Erdogan is saying this because he's angry that the EU came out last night and strongly criticized Turkey's incursion into northeastern Syria and said that the EU would not help Turkey resettle Syrian refugees in the safe zone that it plans to set up in northeastern Syria. Northeastern Syria is the Kurdish heartland of Syria, and most of the up to 2 million refugees that Erdogan plans to resettle there would be Syrian Arabs. So that would amount to a demographic change. And in its statement last night, the EU said, quote, any attempt at demographic change would be unacceptable. So I think what Erdogan is saying to Europe is, you don't help me send the refugees back to Syria, I'll give you refugees.